from a gate and everything?
Over $800,000. I think it was the record for the city of San Francisco, and our attendance record, I think, also would be right in line with the best attendance we've ever had at Revolution. About 9,000 people total and over 8,000 people paid, so really, really strong.
You announced on pre-show that Double Nothing will be at the T-Mobile's Arena in Las Vegas, as well as 2 shows at the MGM Grand as well. Are you guys going to be doing other events like a fan fest like you had done in the past, or basically just going to be 2 shows and the at Double Nothing at T-Mobile?
Still working through the week what we're going to do in Vegas, but we'll definitely have more information coming out about Double or Nothing soon. But I'm excited to be going back to Las Vegas, where we started everything, and celebrate 4 years from the beginning of AEW on pay-per-view. Thanks, Corey.
5th edition.
Fifth Double or Nothing and 4-year anniversary. Yeah.
Hey Tony, it's Righteous Reg.
Hey Reg.
Grapsody and Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Yes.
I have a couple questions about Revolution and kind of time management, I guess, maybe. How do you feel in comparison, because you had less matches, but you did have the Iron Man match. How do you feel this time stacked up to other pay-per-views that you've had in the past? Do you feel like it was better having less? And 2, does it, with having less time, you got to feature less talent? So, a talent like, say, Jade Cargill wasn't featured on the show tonight. Are you going to make an emphasis to kind of feature the people that didn't get to get featured after this? Or is there something else?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the people that weren't featured tonight will definitely try to feature people in upcoming shows. And again, when you try to do the best pay-per-view you can, there's been a lot of positive feedback about the match total. But the truth is, the duration of every AEW pay-per-view has been almost exactly the same, except for Double or Nothing to 2022 last year, where it was a unique situation because the NBA Eastern Conference Finals were going to Game 7. And for business reasons, I thought it would make a lot of sense to put a lot of the meat of the card after the game was probably going to end. And it did work because it was the most late buys we've ever done for any AEW pay-per-view ever. And so every pay-per-view has been in the range of between 3.5 and 355. So this was in that same range. So there was less leading up to the Iron Man match, like you said, because we needed to leave more time in the remainder of the card for the main event than we ever have before in the past. But generally, every pay-per-view has ended before 11:58 Eastern, before 8:58 Pacific, except for one, which was by design. So, but to your point, we tried to manage it so that we could have the best pay-per-view possible, and I thought it was one of the best shows we've ever done. But when you have a 60-minute Iron Man match, especially one that ended up going to sudden death overtime and wanted to allocate that much time on the back end, it definitely meant less matches, and we tried to feature as many people as we could, but still have long matches because I thought it was the perfect balance, and it was one of the reasons it was a great night. I thought the pacing was really strong, and all the matches that led up to the main event were pretty much very strong matches. I thought up and down the card, a lot of great matches tonight, and one of the most balanced, best shows we've ever done. Thanks, Reg.
Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah. Tony, how you doing?
Great, I'm doing very well. It's great to see you.
Good to see you too. From a roster standpoint, I mean, you have a large roster, and then like this week you brought in Commander, and he comes in and wows everybody. And I mean, how much more how many more guys can you bring in, and how, every time you bring somebody in, it makes it even harder to feature everybody.
Sure.
You have with the amount of television time that you have.
Absolutely.
So what is there any kind of plans as far as an ability? I know with Ring of Honor you're opening up another hour or two each week, but as far as more time for AEW to be able to feature more people, or it's basically that.
That's a great question. I think the 3 hours we have right now are great place, and before AEW launched, it was something people were missing, was having those hours of wrestling TV on a strong channel like TBS and TNT. So in being a challenger brand, that's something we brought back, but I would love to have more hours of wrestling television. It's great that we have AEW All Access, which is huge for the company and a big opportunity to get that real estate following Dynamite. And I think we'll be able to have really good audience flow from Dynamite into All Access. There was really a lot of positive feedback about that announcement. It seems like, I know the network is very excited about how much engagement there was about All Access, but from a wrestling standpoint and trying to grow the roster and keep people hot when they get opportunities, it can sometimes be, at times, it's been challenging for a couple reasons. 3 hours of television and also injuries and things that have come up and changed circumstances. I think injuries you can never eliminate completely, but we try and do everything we can from a physical standpoint. And when people need time off, we'll give it to them. And I also think, to your other point, 3 hours of television right now, people can count on seeing the best lineups we can put out right now on TV. But I think we absolutely have the capacity to do more and more TV if that opportunity presented itself, and I think there is demand for it. So that's something, and also it was really positively received, as you said, when you mentioned Ring of Honor. I think the first show this week was really positively received. It's been a really strong business week for AEW and Ring of Honor overall, because I can say tonight, first and foremost, for Revolution, as I said, the gate was tremendous, and also I haven't gotten asked yet, but I know I was going to get asked. From a pay-per-view standpoint, it looks like it was a very successful show. Looks like in line with some of our recent shows, and probably, I think, up from Full Gear, and possibly in line with what we've been doing for Full Gear, Forbidden Door, some of these shows that have been in the range of 130 to 140,000, I think we could be in there. And I'm very excited about that, just based on early digital receipts. I also think probably with a strong word of mouth, I would expect a good chance to get replay buys off of Revolution tonight, because it was a really great card, and I think there was a lot of really positive buzz about some of the matches, in particular the World Championship Ironman match, the Texas Death match, and a lot of other great matches, the Trios Championship, and a lot of great stuff up and down the card, from Starks and Jericho on to the main event. And also for Ring of Honor, really positive business week. I can tell you now, as of today, just for coming off the first television, which has been very positively reviewed, and we've had really great feedback on the first show, we're at 12,000 streaming subscribers now for Honor Club, which is up there with, I believe it is as good as Honor Club has ever gotten, even when Supercard was featured on it with MSG. And so we've gotten the business there as from a streaming standpoint, starting from scratch, because we launched a new app. So that's showing that I think there's engagement with that Ring of Honor TV, which gives opportunities for some of the great stars in AEW that for one reason or another, depending on who it is and when and where it is, might be good to give them a chance in a program on Ring of Honor and feature them there. We've also done that with New Japan and had a lot of our top stars wrestling either in New Japan Strong or matches in New Japan, Wrestle Kingdom and other big shows. So I think, with partnerships, like obviously working closely with Ring of Honor and with New Japan, I think that gives us a good opportunity to work with other wrestling companies under our partnership hood. And I do think we could definitely, if called upon, we could definitely present more really quality television with the roster we're building.
Hi,
Hey.
Tony.
Hey,
So,
Phil.
with your report. At one point this year, it seemed like you guys were teasing Mercedes Monet coming to AEW at some point, at least in the mystery tag, as the mystery tag partner. Were there any discussions with her, and is there any interest in working with her now that she's IWGP Women's Champion?
Well, I have a ton of respect for the IWGP Women's World Champion. She's a tremendous wrestler. I wouldn't want to comment on discussions I'm having with any wrestler who's a free agent, in particular a wrestler who's a champion of one of our partners. But a ton of respect for that great wrestler, and that's somebody any wrestling company would be very fortunate to have wrestling for them.
Thank you.
Hi, Tony. Stephanie Chase from Digital Spy. So I have to ask you if there's any movement on your UK show, because it was when I was last over here in November that you first mentioned it, and then you said London, and then we didn't get anything else. So I think people were expecting more news on that. So any development is Jeff Jarrett helping there, and then also over in the UK, oddly now we have Warner Brothers and BT Sport are taking over them, and now BT Sport is going to be like TNT Sport, and that's what WWE is going to be on in the UK. Does that cause anything for you with your Warner relationship? And you have your ITV one in the UK, but it is quite an odd thing that WWE will be on TNT in the UK.
That was like 3 or 4 questions.
It was, but you're
But no, it's good. I'll answer them one by one. Well, I've been working on this UK thing for a long time, and to be honest, it predates when Jeff came in and what I'm working on. But Jeff is now on the team that's working on it, but it's something I've been trying to put together for a long time and have made a lot of progress on it. And I will definitely be making that announcement. That's something we definitely still plan to do this year, is debut AEW in the UK, and our debut show will be in London, and it'll be something very special and memorable for the UK fans. I really have so much appreciation for the UK market, and have driven up and down and all across the country, working in Premier League football and in Championship football, and I've never been able to promote AEW there, but it's something I'm really looking forward to bringing there. I have a lot of friends and close business associates and people I really care about in England, and I'm excited to be able to have them come to AEW finally. They've been hearing about it for a long time. The relationships we have in England with TV actually predate some of my relationships here in America. I've had a really good relationship with the folks at ITV for several years, and they were some of the first people I talked to about AEW when I first started working on this 5 years ago. And so we have a great relationship there, and that'll be something that'll really benefit us when it comes time to announce AEW's debut in London. And as for the other TV partnership, it's a great partnership with Warner Brothers Discovery here, but we're working with great TV companies all around the world, and Warner Brothers Discovery works with great partners all over the world, no matter who they are. And so that is the rebranding of BT Sport is something that has happened, but also we've got tons of great TV relationships. I think first and foremost is our great Warner Brothers Discovery relationship here on TNT and TBS in America, but again on ITV in the UK and TSN in Canada, and recently announced ESPN in New Zealand and Australia, which was tremendous, and they actually covered the Super Bowl in those territories, so we were able to get really good coverage there and get good buy-in. Was that all the questions?
That was everything.
Thank you, Steph.
Tony.
What's up, Tony?
Hey.
Baby Huey from 107 Sun the Bone.
Hey, it's great to see you in person.
Yeah. Cumulus Media. Congrats. Welcome to the Bay Area. Congrats on running your first week of shows here in San Francisco. And just curious, your overall thoughts on just your impressions of running shows here in San Francisco. And just curious, is there a timeline you could potentially come back to San Francisco and or maybe the surrounding cities, Oakland, San Jose? We have a rich area of just so many different venues to possibly work out of. So yeah, just curious a timeline or a return.
Well, it's a great question. It was an awesome debut week here. It was tremendous to have our first Bay Area shows in the Cow Palace and then debut here in the Chase Center. The crowd was awesome, especially tonight, the pay-per-view crowd. Very memorable show, one of our best shows we've ever done. So I think it bodes really well for a return, and I think there'll be a lot of great word of mouth about this show here in the Bay Area, and more people that'll want to check out AEW, and certainly I think a lot of the people that came to the show would want to come back for repeat business. So I think it bodes really well for us on the return, and so I'm very excited to come back here to this building specifically. Cow Palace was a great home, and I think for a pay-per-view home, this was awesome. So I would love to come here again for another big event, whether it's a Dynamite, Rampage, a pay-per-view, or any major AEW event. Thank you, Hugh.
Here you go, Liz.
Hi, Tony. This is Liz from Lucha Libre Online. Question is, I know you guys made your debut to the West Coast or California in general last year after Double or Nothing went to LA, and then you went recently in January as well. I know that there was a mention of possibly, bringing out a pay-per-view to Los Angeles. I know you had a great success here with your debut of, just coming to the Bay Area in general with shows on Dynamite, Rampage, and also having a pay-per-view. Is there any way that we're going to be getting a pay-per-view maybe in Los Angeles or anywhere in SoCal anytime soon?
Well, we definitely have had a lot of success in California. Again, there were over 9,000 fans here at the show tonight, and well over 8,000 paid. And we had a lot of VIPs and sponsors attending the show also. So it was a really great record Revolution crowd for us. And I think we've had great success, as you mentioned, in Southern California also. Great shows in Ontario, and specifically some of our best TV gates we've ever had have been at the Kia Forum in Los Angeles. So definitely California in this past year since we've debuted here has been one of our best markets as a state, and there are several markets within the state of California. So having just done this pay-per-view here in Northern California, it's a great question, and yes, I definitely think Southern California would be great for an AEW pay-per-view. Also, I will be in Southern California very soon, not for AEW, but for the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, March 31st, which is actually coming up in a few weeks. I'm really looking forward to that show, Friday, March 31st. The tickets are flying for that. It's at USC's Galen Center Basketball Arena, and it's a great card. Bodes really well there, and like I said, it's great renewed interest in Ring of Honor, and certainly, first and foremost, really great time for AEW. And to your point, with the success of Revolution here in Northern California and with the success of the AEW TV in Southern California, it would probably bode well for more big AEW shows in Northern California and Southern California. Thank you.
Hi Tony, Liam Crowley, comicbook.com. Bit of an unpredictable year to start off for one of your stars, Kenny Omega. We heard reports about visa issues possibly blocking him from attending some AEW Dynamites, and just recently we heard reports about his contract possibly being extended due to the time he missed away from injury. I just wanted to know if you had a comment on either of those two subjects.
No, I think Kenny Omega is one of the best wrestlers in AEW history. He's one of the most decorated wrestlers. To have somebody who's been World Trios Champion and had a great match defending that title tonight, World Tag Team Champion, and the World Champion. He's done everything you can do as a World Champion in this company. And also the IWGP US Champion. And this year alone, he's had some of the best matches in the world. I thought it was an excellent match on the pay-per-view tonight. He started the year with a great match in Tokyo versus Will Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom. And Kenny Omega can do anything he sets his mind to. He's one of the best stars in the world, and I hope he's here for a very long time.
Thank you.
Sure.
Will Washington, I'll piggyback off of that a little bit. So on the topic of, I guess, the E and AEW, the Elite, they had a match tonight against House of Black. It was, for me, my favorite match on the card. I thought they tore the house down. But one of the criticisms going into this was, of course, that we didn't see much of the Elite or House of Black building up to this pay-per-view up until really late in the game. And that has left a lot of the Elite's fans kind of wanting more. Do you have more planned for this rivalry going forward, or was this kind of a one and done?
I certainly think you could revisit it based on the great match they had tonight. That the rivalry could be revisited. It's definitely something potential. To touch on something we addressed, there were weeks in the last couple months. There was a challenge, and Kenny's obviously made it back, but there was one thing set behind something I wanted to do. And then also, you may have noticed that a couple weeks ago when they came out, that Buddy wasn't here. And there was that too. But we, even with two members of the House of Black, I think this was the match we wanted. And you might remember a couple weeks ago on Rampage that Brody and Malachi went out, and they were initially the ones who put the challenge out face-to-face effectively. So I thought at that point, even with the two members of the House of Black we had, it was made a lot of sense for them to go out and put out that challenge. And I think everybody internally felt like that was something that made sense to build towards. Unfortunately, we didn't get to have them face-to-face as a 3-on-3 as early as I might have liked. But everybody involved, all six of them, were tremendous in the match. And the last few weeks, I do think there's been a lot of anticipation, even if it would have been good to get them together a week or even a few days or however much sooner as possible. The six of them had an amazing, amazing match tonight, and certainly I would love to see the rivalry revisited at any time.
A few more questions? Go ahead, Amy.
Hello, Tony. Amy Nohe with WrestleJoy. Congratulations on a wonderful pay-per-view. I was curious as to what to the crowd, because we've talked a lot about making a lot of debuts on the West Coast as you've been touring different cities, and a lot of these places like San Francisco have been waiting for you to come here and are very excited to see you. The crowd was on fire all night. A lot of people around me were losing their voice, and yet somehow they still came in for the main event for 60 minutes, just red hot, just as they'd been for the whole show. So I was curious as to what your reactions were to that during the show.
I thought they were tremendous. Thank you, Amy. Thanks for your kind words about the show. I really appreciate it. And I thought the crowd tonight were excellent. I really do agree. I thought they were with the show from the beginning to the end. They had the AEW chants before the opening bell for Jericho versus Starks. And they were with the main event through 60 minutes, chanting, "This is awesome." They went nuts for the restart, the sudden death overtime, and they were with it through the very end. Definitely one of the best crowds we've ever had for a pay-per-view tonight here for Revolution in San Francisco. So again, it bodes well for more AEW in San Francisco, and we're very grateful to the Bay Area fans, and it's really been a great 2023 for these debut markets. I'm very excited to go on Wednesday, looking ahead to the next show, to Sacramento, coming off such a great show tonight. I think there'll be even more interest, but we have a great crowd coming, and we've got a great record with these debut cities. The energy I expect will be really good in Sacramento for our debut there. Tonight was great for the debut pay-per-view, and this week in the Bay Area, and then we had really great energy in Phoenix, which was probably our most successful TV show just a couple weeks ago, to have the highest TV rating since Grand Slam and the most watched biggest total audience since the 3-year anniversary show. So it definitely felt like a major milestone event up there with our top shows. And really, in addition to those crowds in Phoenix, great crowds in Seattle and Los Angeles, Fresno, even not necessarily in the West Coast, but I thought the Lexington crowd was tremendous. So really a lot of great crowds and debuts. So hopefully that pattern continues. They were a huge part of why the show was such a success tonight. And that's something we've been very fortunate with, is having great audiences at our pay-per-views. So really good one tonight. Hey, Denise.
Tony, so I do have a question, because I wanted to bring this up. FTR, we got to see them come back here tonight, so I wanted to get your thoughts on, having them come back, and how you felt about it.
Well, you know what, Denise, it made me smile, because when I was thinking of them, you know what it made me think of just now is you worked at the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor last year, and you were there when the Briscoes and FTR first in person after all the back and forth, and they'd had the face-to-face at Final Battle, but of course you were there when they locked up for the first time, and to be honest, it was great to see them, and that's what I thought of. I think a lot of people know I have seen, we have seen each other, and there was, I think, photos and stuff. I know I saw a photo of Cash and myself at Jay Briscoe's memorial service. So I know people, know that I've obviously had some communication. But, that's probably the first thing I thought of, is honestly Jay Briscoe. And it's great having FTR back here. The reason I think of it is because I think it was one of the greatest series and some of the greatest tag team matches of all time. And I think the four of them will be linked forever. And I'll never be able to, look at any of the three of them ever again without thinking of Jay. And started the night out thinking of Jay too, when Mark Briscoe was out there. And that he did it for Jay. And I thought the promo that Mark did the other night to set up this match was so beautiful. And that was completely from the heart. That's what he wanted to say, because it's true. So I think with them being back here, it was good to have like another piece of that family back together. And I know it meant a lot to them to be back. And I know the Guns said that they had buried FTR's career and that it was dead and gone, but those rumors may have been premature. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Corey?
It's one more question that I had about the AEW video game Fight Forever. There was a release that said that it might be coming out on the 31st of March. Do we actually have a date yet on the video game, or is it, or there, any answers?
I can't say the exact release date. There's a lot of things that go into that, and I don't want to step on anybody with that. It is coming very soon. The game is finished, and it's been very, very highly acclaimed, and it's been very, very, honestly, a lot of fans have been really looking forward to it for a long time, and I'm just so glad that we have a game in place that is been very well received. It went to festival competition, and It's an award-winning game now officially, and we're basically at a place now where it's just officially scheduling that release and all the things that go into it. So I can't say right now, but that'll be a big day when we put that date out, and it's coming soon. Thanks, Corey.
Last question for Tony.
Hey, right, that's good. Going once. Hey, Phil.
Got like 5, but.
Are you talking about the success of the debut of Ring of Honor? Just how different is it booking and writing for Ring of Honor than booking and writing for Dynamite?
Oh, what a great question. Thank you. That was one that I was really hoping I would get asked, and I really appreciate you asking it. It's, we've done 178 episodes of AEW Dynamite now, and doing a 2-hour wrestling show with, bless you, with breaks, it's complex. And when you look at the format of Dynamite and what it is, I don't want to bore everyone or get over complex with how many segments or how many breaks or how the timing of everything. But a lot goes into writing a TV format, especially for a 2-hour show. It's actually a lot more complex even with a 2-hour show and the number of segments and the placement of them versus even a 1-hour show. But doing that with breaks and that regimented time and having to be out, especially on live television, and having to hit those times and pitch to the next show, especially if there's like live sports or something where there's no chance of any overrun, it's really challenging. And it's funny because when I was 12 years old, I started writing wrestling TV shows for fun, and the one that I always did was from when I was 12 years old for fun, and that's something I always have loved doing from when I was like in junior high, and then ironically on Wednesdays, I went to Lutheran school, and then I missed, I transferred to the University of Illinois Laboratory School, and then the confirmation class was in 8th grade, so I wasn't in with the confirmation class, so I went on Wednesday nights to confirmation, and I definitely, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but while we was learning some stuff, I have a lot of, I'm a multitasker, so while I was taking in the scripture, I was also writing episodes of Dynamite in the back of the room on Wednesday nights. And the Dynamites that I wrote all through high school and college, the reason I say this and bring it up, they were a lot more like the Ring of Honor shows. They didn't have commercial breaks. There were a lot of matches. They were a couple hours long. I didn't have to hit a hard time because, I wasn't answering to a network. It wasn't like a firm time slot. It was just a thing I was posting on a message board or, in an email group. And it's always been called Dynamite, but truthfully, like the lessons of doing TV shows, and there's been, I believe, so many great episodes of Wednesday Night Dynamite, but the Ring of Honor shows, Phil, actually probably do resemble, to your question, more of what I grew up writing, and it's funny because I think it's in a lot of ways, it's easier. It's easier to put together studio tapings and have coherent things and have one thing flow to another versus having to come in with live television, the challenges of a week, somebody gets sick, or an injury flares up, and not having everybody in one place. Like, the way stuff flows from studio tapings, it's the easiest kind of wrestling to do, I'll be honest with you. So it's a lot of the challenges of producing the AEW shows, having those restrictions taken off. It's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy being able to put those kinds of tapings together. There's other drawbacks. There's other ways AEW, the presentation is more expensive. It's higher production values, but it's also a more challenging production environment. So there's a lot of pros and cons about it. At the end of the day, AEW to me is always first and foremost about what we're doing, but the fact we've been able to bring Ring of Honor back and get it into a position where it's in so many ways, basically every now metric, whether it's pay-per-view at the all-time high last year, the most buys they ever did. Now for our Honor Club as strong as it's ever been, and we've had all these high attendance marks too. So I'm excited about that, and it's a lot of fun, and I think it presents great opportunities for people outside of AEW to get jobs in wrestling and have spots and matches that weren't working for us in our universe, and also for people here that are great, like great stars, people I have all the respect in the world for. And I think when you see the kind of people that are in Ring of Honor right now, and also some of the people that are going to be coming to Supercard, it's some of the best names in the world. And it's also not booked minute by minute ratings. Not everything. A lot of times, the way I'll do something on Dynamite is balance, an optimization of trying to do the best show and trying to get the ratings up. And it's not always a perfect correlation, but that's what I'm trying, and I think a lot of the times it works well. And with Ring of Honor, you're appealing to a different fan base, and I think in a lot of ways I feel like there's with sometimes like a match that like a hardcore fan and a lot of the people in this room would want to see. I think it's easier to gauge what people would want to see from the hardcore fan base because there's more like-mindedness among the online fans and the hardcore wrestling fans. I think there's a lot of similarities about. There's not 100% agreement over who we like or who we don't like, but I do think like a lot of us. I don't want to say a hive-mindedness, but certainly there is like a correlation between the people we like and don't like that we who and take AEW out of it. I think if we all just sat down and got pizzas and had a drink together, I think there'd be a lot of like-mindedness about who we like and don't like in the history, even if we talk the 80s or the 90s and matches and shows. And so I think that there's a lot of goodwill, and I feel like that's something that that AEW was able to monetize on an international level more so than any promotion had to that point. But I also think that when you're in 150 countries and you can't lean on wrestling history, and not everyone would necessarily know 20 years of history between two wrestlers or how far back a rivalry goes, I think that's where like building consistency week to week is important. And I do think like this has been overall a good year for AEW Dynamite. Like every show has strong ups and downs, but I feel like most of the episodes in 2023 have been really, really strong.
Only one that's.
So that's pretty. That would be batting. That would be batting pretty strong. I mean, we're batting a very high average this year, I think. So but it's a balance to your point. So Phil, I'm glad you asked about it because that was the one thing I'd thought about this week, because I felt like really good coming into this because honestly the last Thursday and Friday, the last couple shows I've been at, I thought were pretty strong. I thought Friday with Rampage was really good, but even coming into that I felt pretty good because there was such a positive reception around Ring of Honor, and when I saw that the streaming subscriptions were so far up, and honestly they've more than doubled in recent weeks, and like to be over 12,000 for Honor Club is unprecedented and certainly above what our internal team had projected to be at this point. And with a really good card for Supercard, I think that bodes well. But then the thing I always try to put the most focus on and I'm always thinking about is AEW. So for months, like, first thing I think of every morning is Revolution, and wanted to make sure that tonight went really well. And I think tonight went really well and was really positively received. So I really want to thank all of you for coming. It was a really big deal to have this be our first show in San Francisco. It's one of the biggest markets in the country and one of the most important sports markets in the world. And everybody who covers AEW, a lot of you traveled really far to come here. So I just wanted to make sure I was able to get everyone's questions answered and visit with you all. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for making me not travel. I just gotta cross the bridge. Suck it, everybody else.